throw the ball to, so I kind of stacked my team with Jonnu Smith, James White. I even threw Nelson Assholer in there as a waiver wire pickup because you just don't know, who he's going to throw the ball to.
Yeah, my favorite Patriot still would probably be Damian Harris right now as far as fantasy goes, and I do like James White still, but Harris I think is going to be the main man in the backfield, especially in goal line situations, taking over from Cam Newton departure. But guys, besides all that, we have a lot to talk about today when it comes to actual football now.
So much.
Not the fantasy as much for this week.
Not the preseason, not the what is. No. We know who's on. We know what's going on.
And we're not recapping that stupid Week 3 game against the Vikings. We're not getting into stuff that doesn't matter anymore. We're talking about real football now, games that only matter from here on going forward. So, guys, still, like I said, we got a game tonight, Buccaneers and Cowboys, and I'm excited to see how this one plays out. I think that once again, the Buccaneers have all of their guys back. The full defense is back. The full offense is back. I don't think they have a single guy maybe from that Super Bowl roster that's not a starter, that's not on the team anymore. I could be wrong. There might be one guy out there that's no longer part of the team, but all the guys that really matter, the core of that team is still all the same, just 1 year older. Right. Still going to have a top, probably number one rush defense once again, 3 years in a row. And then passing-wise, Antonio Brown coming into his own with the team now is going to probably become a huge part of that offense. I think that Antonio Brown finally feels comfortable, and even the coach was talking about today, Bruce Arians, that AB looks like Antonio Brown from 4 or 5 years ago. He's got that speed to him once again, and that's going to be fun to watch. I think Gronk being fully healthy once again is going to be fun to watch. I feel like, honestly, this Buccaneers team, though, is just going to roll over the Cowboys just because their defense is so bad over there in Dallas. So, anyways, I just think I'm looking forward to the games. I'm looking forward to the Chiefs, obviously, Week 1 matchups and going forward. But, obviously we got some action coming soon. I got my DraftKings lineup out there, so I did do a Thursday night DraftKings order. So we'll see if I can come back a millionaire and you guys will be like having me buy you whiskey and stuff. That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Hey, that'd be kind of cool, yeah.
That would be great. And that reminds me about the one thing that pissed me off in our fantasy draft, Mike, the fact that you drafted Antonio Brown ahead of me. We were going for him late, and the reason I was so pissed off is because...
That was on all three of us, by the way, that round.
I mean, he could...
Oh, yeah, that round, we all knew.
We were all going for him that round.
And, I mean, we've been going back and forth on this, but to me, I believe he could truly be the WR1 in this offense. But talking about the game, I mean, I don't think this is going to be a blowout game. It's not going to be a blowout for the Bucs. I mean, I think that the Cowboys are going. This is a statement game for Dak Prescott. I mean, the reports out of Cowboys camp is that he is 100% healthy, and so I do expect the Cowboys to establish the running game with Ezekiel Elliott. So I mean, Tampa, they're favored by 8.5, but it might be a little bit closer than you think.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about the injury report for that game too, we got Jordan Whitehead, safety, with a hamstring injury. He's the only one that did not participate in practice, and he is ruled out for the game. Outside of Zach Martin on the Cowboys, which is a big key to the offensive line. You got to remember that, too. If you're going to be running the ball with Zeke and protecting Dak Prescott, you're going to need a guy to block him, and he's out for the game because of COVID. So, right now, Buccaneers are healthy. Buccaneers are fully healthy. Their defense is healthy. Their linebackers are healthy. I'm kind of with Mike on this. I think it's going to be a beatdown. A Cowboy beatdown Week 1. Unless Dak Prescott decides to open up here. So.
Well, the thing is, I think we don't mind the Cowboys this year. I think we all see they have a good offense.
No, they're going to be good, but they also got a really tough test. You're coming off a team with a Super Bowl win, returning all their starters, and the only guys out on the injury is Jordan Whitehead.
And we all expect better production out of Zeke Elliott this year based on him losing, 10 pounds or so in the offseason.
Correct.
And I think he's going to have a hard time going against his first time back being fully healthy, but against the best rush defense in the NFL.
Without your best right guard.
I mean, I totally could see, obviously, Prescott and CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper hooking up for some big plays against the Bucs pass defense. That's absolutely a possibility. But I think run game is going to be really hard to come by in this one, just because we all know how good those linebackers are, and the defensive line, of course, is just so fast over there in Tampa Bay.
Now, something they can take advantage of here for the Cowboys, if Dak Prescott's on, they got Amari Cooper healthy, CeeDee Lamb looking good. They got and Brandon Jarwin at tight end. They got a few, or Blake Jarwin, sorry. They got a few guys there that can make some plays. And Michael Gallup, don't forget about him being a wide receiver 3 on this team. If not 4, so that's some consider. So, like, if they can get the passing game going, stay out of these linebackers' heads, Cowboys can stand a chance here.
Well,
yes, and that's what I want to know, Tanner. Would you take the 8.5 points? I mean, are you saying that Tampa's going to cover in this game, or would you take Dallas on the bet?
I'd take Tampa. I'd take
Tampa to cover.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say cover.
Yeah, we're going to discuss them a little bit later on in the show after we talk about Chiefs for a bit. We have a few games we're going to do pick-ems on, so that way you guys can maybe play some bets here and there if you'd like. JG was well known last year as our bet man, so it was always JG's hot pick of the week. It seemed to be last year, so we'll see how that unfolds. Buccaneers are trying to do what no team has done in the past 17 seasons, which is win back-to-back Super Bowls. So we will see how that plays out as the year rolls on. But first and foremost, you guys, we are a Kansas City Chiefs show. We are all about the Chiefs. We'll be talking about them all season long, of course, every single week. We will not skip a beat. But week 1 here rolling around, now we have the finalized roster, the 53, all set in stone, as we all know. But just going into the season, you guys, I have a few questions for both of you guys. And I think people out there are curious about the offensive line and how that's going to turn out. I think people are curious about, if Mecole Hardman can step up and replace Sammy Watkins in that kind of role, or if we need someone else to step into that role. Maybe some people still believe in Demarcus Robinson. Maybe people believe Brian Pringle can be the guy to step into that role. And then, they want to know, can Clyde Edwards-Helaire stay healthy throughout the season? What kind of situation are we going to run into there? The Chiefs' defense last year took a step back from the previous year before that. And we're trying to see if this can come back around. Stu Spagnuolo can get them turned back around to where they're able to pressure the quarterback more often. And we need to see a bigger push from guys like Chris Jones once again. Try to get back over double-digit sack numbers to be a big production part of this defense. So my first question to you guys, though, running into this here, do the Chiefs have enough depth at wide receiver going into the season to be productive and efficient offensively in the passing game?
I think they do have enough depth here because, as we've talked about before on this show, I mean, I think we're all very comfortable and we know what to expect out of Byron Pringle and Demarcus Robinson. But for me, I mean, the big question is Mecole Hardman going to show up? And I'm a big believer of Mecole Hardman. I do think he's going to show up this year. I do think he's going to be the next guy to step up as far as this wide receiver core. More importantly, though, for me is I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be the guy that takes the next step forward because, I mean, he just didn't have – I mean, he had a good year but not a great year last year. And so for me, that's the guy who I'm looking for as far as receptions to take on a bigger role.
I think that the answer to this question isn't can the wide receivers execute. I think it's do you have the support for the wide receivers, and you do. You got this four-man tight end, right, that we just kept 4 guys, Noah Gray, Jordy Fortson, and, of course, Blake Bell with Travis Kelce. You got 3 out of the 4 guys we know that can make plays. We've seen it in the offseason. It can happen. But now you also got the running back depth with Jerick McKinnon, Darrell Williams, and Clyde as well, right? So you got the support there. You don't have to just rely on the main 4 that are probably going to be there, Byron Pringle, Robinson, Hardman, and Tyreek. Right, you don't have to rely on just those 4. You're gonna be able to spread it out. So it's not necessarily, do we have the depth? Yes, I think we do have the depth. I like Kemp and I like Fountain, and I think they can be really great players if they get the chance. But I don't think you necessarily need to see that deep.
Yeah, the depth only concerns me if something was to happen to Tyreek Hill, which he's been nicked up here and there in the past, of course.
Yeah,
and
I mean that concerns everybody.
This offense without Tyreek Hill at that point, I mean you're thrusting basically Robinson and Mecole Hardman into starting roles, and I don't know if we want to see them go out there and open up, with the first series of a game by any means, especially against good quality teams, which the Chiefs are going to see a lot of them early on in the season.
And I mean, Mecole's on the injury report right now too. He had limited practice today, and I believe yesterday as well with oblique strain. So that's not a good thing to hear from your wide receiver that you need to make plays. So. So we might be seeing more Pringle, we might be seeing more Robinson, and possibly a Fountain or Kemp appearance too this game.
Yeah, I mean we'll see how things unfold. Obviously, I'm just a little concerned, of course, about the Chiefs' depth at receiver. I with this offense when we had Sammy Watkins. Watkins was a great do-it-all guy. He could block well. He got great hands, great route running. We saw him, burn Richard Sherman in the Super Bowl, a year and a half ago. And so he was just, whenever he's on the field, was a big part of it. And when he was off the field, the Chiefs' offense did take a step back in production, and that is absolutely a fact. And I want to see if the Chiefs can overcome a loss of a playmaker like that and consistently win without him, and do it in maybe different ways than they did before. Obviously, we talked about the tight end situation, maybe more maybe even 3 tight end sets, get Fortson out there a little more. But it's also a different dynamic. The offense is going to be used differently this year than it was in years past from based on what I'm seeing right now. And that has a lot to do with the offensive line, too. The offensive line, as long as they're better, which we expect them to be, is going to make a huge impact on this team. My next question for you guys, though, is Chris Jones. So Chris Jones, his most he's ever had in 1 year was in 2018. He had 15.5 sacks. Great season, Chris Jones. Last 2 years, he's had less than 10 both years. Will he have more than 13 sacks as defensive end?
Sold.
Yeah, I'm sold on that. I mean, he's definitely going to have more than 13 sacks. To me, we already know he's an elite defensive lineman, and he's going to be moving all over the different positions. So for me, I'm definitely taking the over on that. I think we decided that the official over-under was 15.5.
That's what they say on Bovada, guys, 15.5.
That's a tough number, but, I mean, he's an elite player. So, I mean, I could go either way on that.
I think Chris Jones here being on the other side of Frank Clark and Jerron Reed with that middle part is going to we're going to see a different side of Chris Jones this year. Last year, he did have 28 QB hits, and that was, I believe, 14 more than any other player on our team from just being in a defensive tackle spot.
Yeah, he had less TFLs last season, but he had a lot of hits on the quarterback.
Correct. And I think that's maybe we're not. I don't necessarily look at can he get the sacks, can he make the pressure? And last year he put the pressure on. I think this year
he's always done that.
This year he's going to be a more it's just going to be a different force from this guy. And I don't think if I had to pick a number for sacks, I'd go 17 or 18 would be my number to throw out there for him. But I also look at that QB hits number to really get closer to everybody else in a way. So I look at Jerron Reed, forcing through the middle, but also Frank Clark. I think he's going to have a pretty bounce back year as well, and he's going to be high in that number as well.
Yeah, so right now, Frank Clark did practice as of day one of official week 1 practice for going up against the Browns. So even though we have not seen him in preseason,
he was limited today with his hamstring, but he did practice. The only guy that is right now ruled out as of today's practice is Austin Blythe.
Yeah, I think we'll see a little bit of Frank Clark more in limited time this game, personally, because I think the Chiefs also feel comfortable with what they have going on.
With their depth and everything. I just feel that way as well. I think you're going to see a lot of Mike Dana and possibly Okafor as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably part of the plan right there. Next question for you guys. Patrick Mahomes this season in a 17-game year, once again, remember that. He had 38 passing touchdowns last season. His over-under for me is 41 touchdown passes. What have you got, over-under?
I'm going to go with the over on this one, and if you guys can possibly get to the bank as fast as possible and just try to make a bet on this, I'm going to call for a 50 burger this year. You've got the extra game this year, and I think he was a little bit down last year, and I'm expecting a 50 burger this year from Mahomes.
Yeah. What do you think, Tanner? Over 41?
I'd say 38 touchdowns last year. I'd say the extra game. I'd say above 41. I think he can do that. You have a little bit more games. You have a little bit more depth on that offensive line. This is going to be his big bolstering of this one. He could be closer to 45, maybe 50. Just by the fact that he doesn't have to run for his life every single play. So I think with that, giving him time and getting those receivers kind of get more on the page with him, this guy's going to be unstoppable.
And that should be my easy money bet of the week, as you guys alluded to earlier, but I'm not
If it's above 41,
I'm not going to do it officially, but I'm giving you a little bit of a hint that you might want to entertain the thought of making that bet of the over 40, over 41, or over 39.5, whatever it is.
I think definitely over 39.5. I think 41 is debatable to me, because I think this offense in the red zone is actually going to be better running than they ever were before. So I see touchdowns for Darrell Williams. I see touchdowns for Clyde on the ground.
You're going to see more creative plays going here as well with Andy Reid.
Yeah, we're going to see a different kind of offense a little bit this year.
We're going to see new plays and everything. It's going to be crazy.
But you got to remember those cheap-ass shovel passes. He doesn't have to try that hard on that shit.
Travis Kelce.
Kelce does it. Tyreek does it. Hardman's done it before.
Yeah.
It's a thing, absolutely. So Well, that's going to be a close one, I think, on that. But I'm hoping we get the over on there. But a couple more guys. I have Chiefs last year finished 21st in run defense in 2020. And my question for you guys is, after adding Nick Bolton, after adding Jarron Reed to the defense, are they going to be now top 15 in run defense this season? Because week one, obviously, playing against the Browns, you got to be ready.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the under here. I don't think they're going to be in the top 15, but I don't think that's going to be a problem because I think with opposing offenses, the goal is to keep Mahomes off the field for an opposing offense. So I think the defense is going to get tired at times, but, I would go with the under. I think if I had to throw a dart out there, I would say they would be 16th overall in the NFL
16th?
run defense.
I'm actually going to go ahead and say they meet it and they're top 15. They're top 15. I mean, you got first week, obviously, it's going to be rough with the Browns. But if you kind of look at the schedule, too, Bills are split carries. I'm not really too concerned about that. They're more of a passing team. Currently, the Chargers, Austin Eckler, he's hurt. Eagles don't have anybody. We know that. Titans, Derrick Henry might be your big threat. Outside of that, Aaron Jones to the Packers? Steelers, if Najee breaks out, but that's it. Like, you don't have anybody else that you're playing against that should break out against you. Maybe Saquon on November 1st when he's healthy. Outside of that, I think you're at maybe top 13.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs is going to be one to watch out for, of course. He's had some good work against the Chiefs in the past.
I think that combo of Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake, too. Mm-hmm. I mean, they got Zeke the 21st, too, but who knows what the offensive line's going to look like then.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean, of course. I think that it's going to be interesting. I think that the defensive line is more stacked now than they were the year before, of course. And I think that having, between Derek Nottie in there, along with Jarron Reed in the middle, and then adding Chris Jones as a big body defensive end, that goes a long way.
Somebody we may not be giving enough respect to, and maybe that if you need that motivation, you could take it, man. But Anthony Hitchens, guys, came into this preseason better fit, way more fit, right? He's stronger. He looks faster too, in his ability. This guy is taking it to hopefully the next level.
Yeah, he showed up in shape this year.
Yeah, and now that the fact that he's a vet, he's over these young guys. This guy has a chance to lead and be a dominant linebacker, inside linebacker, let alone. So if this guy can explode through, and provide the knowledge to Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, right? Who Willie Gay's out, of course, but like. We got a chance here. I think Anthony Hitchens isn't getting the respect.
Well, he's also not done anything yet to deserve it.
Correct.
This year he could earn that respect if he shows up.
That's what I'm saying. It's time. It's time to step in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just like I said before. I mean, I think defenses are going to be scared shitless of Patrick Mahomes. They're going to try to run it down our throats, and so that's why I think if you can figure out a way to keep Mahomes off the field, that's the game plan. And so for me, I mean, yeah, I think if the Chiefs could be top 15 or 14 or 16, somewhere in that range, I think that would be a success, one way or the other.
That'd be great.
Yeah, Chiefs gave up 4.5 yards per carry last year on the ground, which does not sound good whatsoever. I mean, you're giving up 4.5 yards on the ground. I mean, you're subpar as a defense right there against the run. So this year, I hope they have picked it up, and I believe that they have. I think they've done enough additions, and especially if Willie Gay can be on the field, that's going to make an even bigger impact as time goes on. But all right, guys, so do some math for me here because I just asked you about Mahomes' touchdown numbers. You both went with the over here, right? I think we all did.
Yeah.
Over 41?
Over.
Okay, well, how many of those touchdowns are going to go to tight ends combined? So think about it. Kelsey had 11.
Let's just say we do 42, right? We're over.
Sure.
42. I think combined for those touchdowns, you're looking at 15. In my book.
15. So, Tanner, I just want to let you know here. So, just 3 years ago, back in 2018, when Mahomes had 50 touchdowns, the Chiefs had a total that year of, I think it ended up being like 13 or 14 touchdowns to tight ends. So, Demetrius Harris had 3, and then Travis Kelce had, I think, another 11 that year, maybe 10, something around those lines. 2 years ago, we only had 5 all year. Kelce only caught 5, and that was it. Last year, it was once again only Kelce with 11. So, 15 is going to be a big number to hit, and we're expecting then, in that case, Blake Bell, Jody Fortson maybe gets a couple as well. So
that's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we set the over and under. I think you and I, Mike, set it at 12.5.
Yeah.
And for me, it's going to be over because the two guys that you trust on that team are Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce.
Correct.
So I've got over. If I'm setting the over under at 12.5, I'm going to go with the over there. Tanner, I think you said 15. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm with you on that because of the tight end depth. I mean, you just don't know who's going to be showing up, as far as like.
So in my mind, I mean, you got like we talked earlier. This is new play calling. Andy Reid doesn't just have these bums at tight end. He actually has playmakers at tight end.
No bums.
He has a guy that can block and two guys behind Travis Kelce that that could be considered playmakers if they were given the opportunity and they execute. So, like, their play calling, they could be doing all these different stuff here with 4 tight end sets.
Yeah, and they showed it a little bit here in preseason. We did see that one play
Yeah,
where they
with
lined
Blake
up
Bell
for,
too,
and
and-
of course we scored a touchdown on that play, the
Yep.
pass to Blake Bell. But we had 4 tight end sets out there, and that's something you do not see in the NFL. But then again, teams do not typically have 4 really
No.
good tight ends.
No,
So,
they don't typically do.
and especially when you're looking at this roster and you're thinking that like Jody Fortson might be your number 4 tight end. I mean, depending on Noah Gray, how you want to envision him.
Right, and for some of the fans out there, they'll talk about we had 4 tight ends last year. You had an injured bum in Deion Yelder, injured bum in Ricky Seals-Jones, and Nick Kaiser.
Nick Kaiser is the biggest piece of crap I've ever seen.
The guy retired. All right, you had 3 bum tight ends. Do not relate these guys to last year at all. Blake Bell is an elite tight end
Blocking
that
tight
can
end.
block and take care of business, and the other 2 have potential to be elite playmakers. Do not relate this to a Deion Yelder, Ricky Seals-Jones, Nick Kaiser combo.
Absolutely. Now we're going to discuss our season record here about the Chiefs here. Now, obviously, that's kind of a season recap. We're going to dig into Week 1 Browns, and first, let's dig into Week 1 Browns, guys, and then we're going to discuss why we think our overall Chiefs record for the entire season is what it is. Because Week 1 Browns is going to be a huge test for this team, offensively and defensively.
Right off the bat.
You got to remember last year the Chiefs were on the hook right there. Patrick Mahomes ends up getting injured in the game in the playoffs in the divisional round. Chad Henne comes in and picks up a great 14.5-yard rush to get us to 4th and inches. And then right there in 4th and inches with a completion roll out to Tyreek Hill to solidify the victory. If the Chiefs do not convert that, Chiefs could very much be in trouble in that game right there. So Chad Henne, like we always said, anything is possible. There's T-shirts that have been made, guys. This is a real thing. This is a real big deal.
Correct. It should be.
But guys, you got to remember the Browns also have improved a lot this offseason as well. Like they did not just roll in this year once again
Fart
thinking it's
around,
the same
do
thing as
anything.
always. This is going to also be a team that put in work as well because they know that they're very close. They know that they're right there with, I think, the Bills and with, maybe in their mind time the Ravens as far as being productive within this conference. And so my thing, I want to bring up something to you guys. So I have a friend out there who's questioned the Chiefs' offensive line once again because they're all young rookies. Now, all this offensive line, they're all under 25 years old, right? So people are concerned about that. These are first-year players along the entire right side. So I have a couple things I want to bring up. I know we're going back to college for a minute, but that's all we can work with at the moment. Crete Humphrey, 3-year starter from Oklahoma, obviously at center now, starting center. Took the position right away from Austin Blythe. Austin Blythe never had a chance.
No.
Crete Humphrey steps in and immediately within preseason has that job as his own. Over 1,200 snaps, 0 sacks allowed in his career at Oklahoma. That's phenomenal. He was also given to Pro Football Focus's all-rookie team this preseason. So out of all rookies, he was the best-performing rookie according to Pro Football Focus at center. So Trey Smith now at right guard next to him. He's got 1 sack allowed in his final season. He has 2,500 snaps in his career at Tennessee. He played 4 years, guys, 1 sack of anything meaningful in his whole career there. Lucas Niang, first-year starter for the Chiefs, which is essentially a rookie after opting out with COVID. 0 sacks allowed in his last 2 seasons at TCU. So, guys, we have a bunch of guys that are great pass blockers, and they're big maulers. We've seen that in preseason already, push guys around in the run game as well. This offensive line is going to be nasty, and especially with the big guys, Orlando Brown on the left, of course, as a run blocker already. We already know how good he is. But then the attitude of Trey Smith, and then the technique of the old wrestler, Crete Humphrey. I mean, I love how this looks along this team. But here's the biggest challenge about this whole thing, is that they're going against the Cleveland Browns, of course, who are sitting there with a defensive line of Myles Garrett, Malik Jackson, Andrew Billings from the Bengals, which is actually one of the better players they had at D-tackle, and then Jadeveon Clowney was brought over as well, which
Don't
we know
forget-
he's been hot and cold,
Don't
but
forget McKinley in the back
and
there.
Curtis McKinley as well.
Yep.
So guys, this has got really, really good quality talent written all over it. Clowney is always hot and cold. That's something to think about. But this is their first ever test, you guys. Is this something that concerns you going into this game? What are your thoughts about the Chiefs' offensive line being a major concern to the fan base?
I don't have too much concern here, basically because of what you alluded to earlier about the fact that we've got rookies on that offensive line. And when I compare the Chiefs' offensive line to Cleveland's defensive line, Cleveland has nothing to prove, and that's basically most of their roster. But the defensive line, they've already proven themselves. You look at the Chiefs' offensive line, and those rookies especially, they have everything to prove. And so they're going into game one thinking that, we've got to prove everything to these guys. Because they, in the NFL, I understand what you're talking about earlier about what they've done in college or what have you, but, on the NFL level, they haven't proven shit in a real game yet. So that's my thought as far as going into game one. These guys have everything to prove. Jadeveon Clowney, we all know he likes to talk a lot of shit. He's been talking a lot of shit in the offseason. Jadeveon Clowney he's good. He's not a great player to me, but I think the Chiefs are going to have the advantage in this game because I think the Browns are just, they know who they are. They don't have anything to prove, and the Chiefs have everything to prove. So that's the mentality that I'm looking at this thing from.
From a rookie standpoint, right? It's different. It's a different game coming to the NFL, right? Niang didn't play either, right? All last year, so it's still a different game.
He's a rookie, basically.
Basically a rookie. You're playing against Myles Garrett, who's been dominant, right? And then Malik Jackson, Jadeveon Clowney. So Clowney did have 0 sacks last year, yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean it's a new team, new day. And he's going to take advantage. He's going to take advantage of these guys.
Now, he has a lot to prove himself.
He has a lot to go on. He's looking for that big contract now, and he's going to be he has an illness, so he's been out this week with the illness. But I imagine he'll be fine by then. But you got these vets walking into versus this offensive line that's rookies essentially. I think you're looking at. I'm not looking at it off the bat here, right? Off the bat here, I think we're going to see some struggle. I think we're going to see Patrick Mahomes be running. I think we're going to see some struggle in the running game, but what I want to see from this offensive line is you get over those first couple series, right? You get your feet underneath you, and then you learn how to deal with these guys early because they didn't face Jack in the offseason, right? Preseason, they do go against Chris Jones and Frank Clark and Reed in practice, so that does help in the experience level. But my concern is it's a whole new defense that you're facing against now. Your first time in the NFL. On the starting, you're protecting that guy, Patrick Mahomes, in the back of you. What motivation do you have? We're going to see a lot. It's going to tell a lot about these guys on how they start and also bounce back if they do fail. It's going to be seen exactly what you're going to see for the season.
I mean, I agree with you. The rookies, they've got to get their dick wet. But for me personally, it's not going to take them a long period of time to get their dick wet.
I'm saying the first couple of series, it could be really rough.
Sure.
Because you got these vets over here licking their chops.
They're not going to be perfect by any means. It's going to be an issue. Guys, my buddy I was talking with, he's also concerned they could be worse than last year based on what we saw in the postseason in the Super Bowl. And I'm saying right now that is not going to be the case. This offensive line is going to be the best we've seen in a long time.
Having this game be our first game of the season is probably a blessing for the Chiefs right now. Because you get these rookies, you get them the experience. You get the experience right away against a good football team that will face you possibly to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what you want. You want to see these guys, hey, if you're going to get beat up, let's get beat up the first game, and let's figure it out from there, and then be dominant after that.
And I think we'll see the Browns again in the playoffs as time goes on.
You very well could.
This is something that they'll remember. First, if you're a rookie, you're not ever going to forget your first ever NFL game.
No.
You're going to remember everything about it. You're going to be eyes wide open. You're going to remember Myles Garrett coming at you. You're going to remember Clowney. You remember Malik Jackson. And you're going to remember that when it comes postseason time too. You're going to remember the tips and things you picked up on going against those guys and the things that they excelled at against you. You're going to remember that and make sure you do better.
Correct.
Correct.
That's
5 months from now.
So I'm saying, hey, you're going to struggle. Let's struggle week one. Let's don't struggle in the playoffs, right? When we see them again.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my matchups of the week, you guys, so is obviously going against the combo of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And the Chiefs' rush defense, as I talked about a few minutes ago, the Chiefs had the 21st ranked rush defense last season. And this is going to be a big first test for them as well. And I think we are going to see quite a bit of Nick Bolton with the defense, just rotating in there with the linebackers. And then the defensive tackle is obviously going to rotate through as well. So that's going to be a big part of the Chiefs' way of keeping guys fresh on the field. Now, last year, Chubb and Hunt combined for 23 touchdowns. Chubb was actually the first player since Mercury Morris of the Dolphins, Tanner, in 1972 to rush for 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns and less than 200 carries.
Did you say Mercury Morris?
Yeah, 72 Dolphins. 72 Dolphins, undefeated team, Tanner.
I totally spaced out on that.
So this is a
That's the best name ever.
50-year record, Tanner. This is the first guy that's done it in 48 years, 1,000 yards on the ground with 12 touchdowns and less than 200 carries. And Nick Chubb did that with, obviously having Kareem Hunt there by his side as well. So, just efficient runners. Both of these guys are really great. Kareem Hunt had 5 touchdowns receiving, which tied for the league lead as running backs. So, these guys can both do it all. That's going to be a big, tough test. It's not going to be. I think absolutely the Browns have a great offensive line as well. And we're going to see Jack Conklin be pushing guys around. J.C. Treader, Joel Bitonio is amazing. So, altogether, it's not going to be easy. The Chiefs are probably going to have problems when it comes to stopping the run because who doesn't against the Browns? It's going to come more down to, covering your Odell Beckhams and covering your Jarvis Landrys when it comes to stopping the passing game. So, what in your opinion is your main matchups or thoughts going into this game that you are the most concerned about?
Yeah, I know that's you just alluded to it. That's the first thing, the number one thing that I'm looking for is, if the Chiefs do sell out against the run, you've got a healthy Odell Beckham Jr., and so I'm going to be watching that Chiefs secondary and see how they perform. It's going to be L'Jarius Sneed, Charvarius Ward against Jarvis Landry and OBJ. And so I feel like if those guys can do a good job in the secondary against those wide receivers, I think we can dominate these guys. But the point that I've talked about before on this show is like when you have a healthy OBJ, Cleveland Browns play like shit because there's no chemistry between OBJ and Baker Mayfield, at least not that we've seen so far. And so that's the other thing I'll be looking for on the other side of the ball is, how well does that Browns offense play with OBJ on the field, because they really haven't done shit, up until this point. They play better when he's injured,
correct,
when he's not on the field.
But it sounds to me like, just from reports I'm hearing too, that Beckham Jr. is taking a whole different mental approach with it, and he's not being as cocky as he was after the injury.
That's fine, but it's one of those things where I'll believe it when I see it with OBJ.
Correct. Yeah. We may hear about it week 1. All right, guys. Biggest topic of the day has to be the Tyron Matthew news that he's still not off the COVID list, and we only have 3 more days to go. If he doesn't get the 2 negatives beforehand, he ain't playing. And right now, the depth chart don't have him playing at all. They have Armani Watts as your starting, and with Thornhill and Sorensen as your secondary, as your safeties, and that's it. Are we concerned about this? If, let's say, Matthew is out for this game, do we have enough faith in the Sneeds, the Marnie Watts, Sorensens, and Thornhill to make a splash?
Yeah, luckily the Chiefs have depth at safety, but replacing Tyron Matthew is not just something you just do, and it's not a big deal. It's a big deal. He brings a whole attitude to the defense, and everyone on the team looks at him. And Patrick Mahomes, whenever Tyron Matthew was signed to the team, called him and told him, "I want you to be the quarterback of this defense. I want you to be the guy that gets the defense together. You to be basically me, but for the defense, and you want to be the man to be the leader, really." And so he has been. Mm-hmm. And so whenever Tyron Matthew's not in the field, it's going to make an impact, of course. You guys remember whenever Eric Berry was a part of this team, Eric Berry was, at the time the leader of this defense. And he went through a couple of years where he was on the sidelines hanging out, but it's not the same kind of energy and same kind of passion you can bring and impact you can bring unless you're on the field. And so I think the Chiefs' defenses at that point were, going through a struggling phase as well. Now this defense, like I said, Sorensen and Thornhill, they can hold down the fort 100%. L'Jarius Sneed is going to be probably moved around corner, nickel, could even play safety if you need him to. But also we saw good things out of Armani Watts, Tanner, like you just said. Mm-hmm. And so they can live without him, but I don't want to risk that. It's
I-
not going to be cool. It's not going to be fun. I'll be nervous if Matthew's not on
I'll
the
be a little
field.
bit more nervous, but I think this is what Spags was prepping for. It was Matthew possibly being out. So there was a couple weeks in a row, including a preseason game, that one that he played out to the fourth quarter, where Thornhill was making all the calls. Thornhill was taking charge. And this was the biggest key that I think going into week 1 here. If we are missing Matthew, we have a guy that Spags is comfortable enough to hand the keys to, saying, hey, you need to make some plays. You need to make the calls. We need to take care of it. Because you'll have Hitchens out there, but you won't have him every play. So you got Thornhill out there that can make those plays, make those calls.
Yeah, so my biggest problem with this is when we talk about a star player like Tyron Matthew, like he's the leader of the defense. I have a big problem when you bring up the fact that he may not be on the field in week 1.
Correct.
The reason I have a problem with that is that why would you not have him on the field? And so at some point, if we're already talking about this in week 1 of the NFL season, at what point do we say that the NFL made a mistake in having these rules where you are keeping your star players off the field, which in turn is deciding the outcomes of games?
So-
and I understand we're just talking about one guy right now.
Wouldn't the
with
Zach
Tyrann
Martin thing
Mathieu.
happen too? Like,
It-
wouldn't that be part of that discussion?
Absolutely. You can throw whoever you want to. I'm just talking about we're just in week 1 right now.
Yeah.
But so if we're all of a sudden we're going to decide the week 1 games based on the NFL rules, at what point do we start to think, well, maybe we shouldn't take the NFL season that seriously because these rules that they have are taking star and superstar players out of the game, which are deciding the games. We're not letting the players decide the games. We're letting the rules decide the games. I've had a huge problem with that. Just the fact that you guys brought up Tyron Matthew.
So didn't we just have this discussion with the NBA season and asterisk and everything like that? Are you talking about asterisk for the NFL season because of this again?
This is bigger than an asterisk. I mean, the NBA is one thing. I mean,
star?
all those guys were playing. You know, when you look at the NBA season, those guys were playing all the games. They held out Chris Paul for 2 games, and that's the only thing we ever heard of. I'm talking about star and superstar players in the NFL. We're just in. We haven't even started week 1 yet.
Hey, you know,
That's a huge problem when you're going to start deciding games
the NFL
based
warned
on
it.
the rules
The
and
NFL
not.
warned it. The NFL came out and said, hey, here's the rules. And then you got to follow the rules from there.
And I think that's probably a discussion for a different day because the NFL Players Association, they agreed on these rules.
Correct.
And so that's the part that I don't understand, and we can debate that another day. But for me, if we're sitting here talking about this and we haven't even started the season, that's a big problem for me, especially when we're talking about betting, and we talk about odds on this show and which teams you're going to bet on, and you know, why is Tyron Matthew not going to play? Tyron Matthew is a huge part of this team.
Big time.
I mean,
It's gonna hurt.
he runs the defense. So for me, like that's a huge problem. I mean, it's and a lot of people think of it as political. It's not political. It's not political at all. The NFL is holding star and superstar players out of games. That's a problem with the NFL. That is not a political issue.
Yep, and also all the players that they did what the NFL asked them to do, which was get vaccinated. So, you know, I think we have somewhere around 90 to 95% of players at this point have been vaccinated, but yet they're still going through all the traditional protocols, basically same as last year. So I don't know. We'll see how things play out as the year goes on with COVID thing. Obviously, I just hope that Tyron can, you know, do what he has to do, pass 2 tests in a row, and be good to go for the game Sunday. So.
That's
You
all
know,
we
it's
want.
it's frustrating for sure, and I'll be more frustrated if more of these things happen, and then I'll really have something to say. But I like that you have your stance there, Jason, without a doubt. So, guys, keep in mind though, Patrick Mahomes in the month of September throughout his career is 10-0. He's got 32 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions for a career, along with over 3,000 yards passing. So, Patrick Mahomes is nearly flawless in the month of September. I'll never forget his first ever home game against the 49ers. And I threw that play where he zigzagged back across the field, and then Chris Conley was going up back across the end zone, threw that thing sidearm like 30 yards. That was beautiful. That was a fun experience right there. And That was just kind of remembering Mahomes doing that, and then remembering the Pittsburgh Steelers game also in the month of September, where he threw 6 touchdown passes in one game, and that was in his first season as a starter. So I'm hoping Mahomes can stick to this same kind of thing. The Browns' defense, as far as in the past defense anyway, they got some good players out there. They did sign John Johnson, of course, Ronnie Harrison. Denzel Ward is still a part of the team, but I think that they're a defense that can be picked on, without a doubt, especially in the middle against the linebackers. So Kelsey should have a field day out there, and I expect Mahomes to still do Mahomes things this weekend. So, guys, my pick for this game is 31-21, Chiefs with the victory.
Wow, that's actually a little closer than I thought you would say.
Closer?
Yeah.
I got Chiefs by 10, which is it's more than the spread.
Mine's actually 31-29, Chiefs.
No, that's close.
I got 31-23, and I do believe that they're going to cover the spread here. It's -6.5. The thing you got to remember is that Patrick Mahomes has been stewing over this Super Bowl loss for 8 months now, so he's pissed off. He was also concussed during the last meeting of these two teams, so he's probably pissed off about that too. So I do have them covering the spread at that -6.5.
All right, guys, what is your season prediction for the Chiefs for the whole year? I have the Kansas City Chiefs officially going 14-3 on the season.
Yeah, I'm going to go 15-2 here. Not that I'm trying to outdo you there, Mike, but I'm going to throw out my 2 losses here. So Week 7 against the Titans, Week 14 at the LA Chargers. Those are going to be the only 2 games that they lose.
Oh, you think the Chargers will beat us? I like it. I agree with you. I'd say 15-3, or 14-3.
14-3?
14-3.
Same as me.
14-3.
Okay.
There you go.
There we go. Very nice. I like it. I think we're going to have a good running game this year is the main thing for me. So it's going to be picking up some of the slack we might have with missing the depth at receiver from my issues here. All right, guys. Well, that wraps up our Chiefs segment at least. But let's jump over to the pick'ems. We only have, we're going to be going through now 5 games this week. Is that right?
There's 5.
You know, we just talked about the Chiefs game, obviously. Now we're just going through the 5 games. Last year we did the whole season, kept track of everything. I whooped your 2's asses. Both of you went down in flames to the king.
Kind of lucky.
But
Fake news. Fake news.
Yeah, fake news. Well, Tanner lost track of some of my picks even, and I still won.
No,
so.
I didn't lose track. You didn't pick him.
I picked him. I mumbled it under my breath on the microphone. You just didn't hear it. All right, guys. So game right here, Thursday night, Bucks Cowboys. I think we both we all agreed there. I'm going Buccaneers without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, it's -8.5 for Tampa. Again, I think for an NFL game, it's a big spread. I think the Cowboys are going to cover here. Statement game for Dak Prescott, and I'm going to go 31-24 Bucks.
I think the Buccaneers take care of business this Thursday as well. They're returning everybody. Everybody's healthy. Like you really can't pick against them. Dak's gonna struggle, I think, on working with his receivers, and without Zach Martin there, it could be a long game for him. And Zeke.
Either way, guys, football's back, and I am pumped. So, once again, here's Sunday, though. We have Buffalo Bills Buffalo Bills are hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this is going to be a really good game. I think 2 teams, Pittsburgh obviously went 11-0 last year for a minute. The biggest 11-0 fraud in history of the league, which I was telling you guys that for weeks as it was going on.
MVP.
Tanner picked Ben Roethlisberger to be MVP last year. Remember that, Jason?
Whoa. We talked about it at that point in time.
Right, which we all knew was
stupid. If you win, you should be there. So.
All right, well, we'll see about that, Tanner. See if you still
we
feel the
talked
same
about
way.
this.
It was a bad take, and you know it.
Wasn't.
Guys,
I'm
gonna go with the Pittsburgh Steelers getting the victory over the Bills.
Yeah, I'm not going to go with a victory here. I do think the Bills will win, but they are -6.5 at home. I just like Mike Tomlin here as a coach. Buffalo's got a lot to prove defensively this year. Big Ben and Najee Harris is going to put them to the test. I like the Steelers and the points here. So I'm going to go with Pittsburgh to cover here.
Okay.
I'm going Bills as the winner. Pittsburgh lost most of their offensive line this season. Then you got TikTok Juju looking to make a comeback, and hopefully he can do that. But outside of that, you got Najee Harris that needs to prove himself against that Bills defense, and that's going to be a struggle for him.
It's going to be a great game, guys. Skip ahead to Monday Night Football real quick. We have the Raiders in that cool little dome they got now against the Baltimore Ravens. So that's going to be a fun matchup to me. I know, Jason, you don't think it's going to be that great. I think that the Ravens are a depleted team. In fact, they're a team that I do not believe in whatsoever. That's why I picked the Browns to win the AFC North over the Ravens as well. I think they have a good defense, very talented defense, without a doubt, no arguing that. But the running backs are getting depleted. They're down to Gus Edwards, and there's no receivers.
The Gus bus.
So, I mean, they're just... I guess Lamar Jackson's going to throw to the tight ends nonstop, but, you know...
Mark signed a big contract.
It's going to be
Mark Andrews.
Just signed a big contract.
Lamar's going to be in trouble this year just because of the lack of talent on offense. So, anyways, for me, guys, I like the Raiders a lot this year, believe it or not, which save that for TikTok because I'm going to give you the record here after the show. But Raiders, I got defeating the Ravens on Monday Night Football in the new dome in Las Vegas.
So I disagree with you season long on the Raiders, but I do agree with you on this particular game. Baltimore is -4.5. It's going to be the first time with fans in the stadium for the Raiders this year. I do believe that Baltimore is going to get shit canned in this game. I do believe that Baltimore is the better team a season long, but I do think that the Raiders are going to win this game. Remember, the Raiders beat the Chiefs last year, so I'm not going to be surprised at all if the Raiders show up. You know, Las Vegas Raiders, my favorite city on planet Earth.
True that.
So do they officially have the nightclub in the end zone? Like they talked
in the end zone?
Yeah, so they made the Raiders put a nightclub in one of the end zone ends, and it's supposed to be there the entire night.
Is this like how the Jaguars have a big pool?
Big pool, yeah.
There,
this is the Las Vegas theme for them. So they have a DJ, a night dance floor, and everything.
To see. That'll be cool to see. Like, I'm looking forward to that.
I'm actually kind of looking forward to see this game.
Now, see, I could buy into the nightclub if Derek Carr wasn't the starting quarterback. If you had Deshaun Watson, bringing a guy like Deshaun Watson, then I would buy into that nightclub.
He'd have too many massages.
Think about the celebrities we're going to see on Monday Night Football this weekend.
Oh, my Lord.
Because it's Las Vegas. You're going to see celebrities there at that nightclub.
And if they have a bar at the nightclub, they're going to be even more there.
It's going to be wild in there. You're going to see some maybe some Kanye over there. You never know.
Hey, over under 5 appearances of the nightclub on Monday Night
Well,
Football.
my idea of a celebrity is the Tourette's guy, so I don't know if we're going to see him there or not, but that's a story for another day.
I want to see Henry Ruggs get a touchdown and then go up to the nightclub and dance for a celebration. For a minute. Yeah, that could be a celebration.
All right, that'd be all right. Outside of this, guys, back to football.
All right, we got excited. We got off track on that.
Well, I did get Ruggs, by the way. Just to throw it out there, I did get Ruggs on my fantasy team. After all those rookie cards that I pulled out of packs.
I'm just shocked that Jason didn't say nothing about the nightclub. So anyways, so the Ravens guys are going to win this game, and there's only one reason why they're going to win this game. It's the Ravens defense that's going to carry them like it does every year. And they're going to carry them. They have elite corners, safeties, linebackers are all there. They're going to pressure Carr, and Carr's going to crumble like he always does. So look at the Ravens to win because there's no offensive line in Oakland right now.
All right, guys, another one that's going to be kind of a game of the week and interconference play here. Tennessee Titans are going to be at home against the Arizona Cardinals. This game has got a couple really, really great dynamic type of offenses. Julio Jones, obviously now with the Titans, is going to be a huge addition to that team. Obviously still got Derrick Henry there running his ass all over the place. Kyler Murray, once again, running his ass too because he's a great scrambling quarterback. But I love the Cardinals. I like the Titans a lot too. This is a tough game to pick, you guys. But I'm going to go with the Titans to win based on the back of Derrick Henry in this game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Titans as well. You know, they are favored -3 at home. I'm going to say it's going to be 31-21 or 31-29 Titans. So I do think Arizona's probably going to cover here. Definitely this is not a game that I want to bet on. I do think it's going to be a shootout based on the fact that I don't believe in any one of those fucking defenses. But, you know, don't forget the Cardinals added A.J. Green to that team. So, you know, we don't know what to expect, but I do expect a shootout in this game.
I agree. I think Tennessee wins because Arizona is it's gonna take a minute for them to get some chemistry between all those guys in the offense and the defense. Obviously, Kyler Murray didn't play much in the preseason, so that kind of hurt them as well. So kind of what you saw between the offseason and all the additional players as well, you are looking at a slow start for Arizona, but, I mean, they're going to be great this year. So I'm going to go Titans, though, to win this particular game.
All right, guys, we got one more to go over here. We're going to go to the Washington football team hosting the LA Chargers over there back on the East Coast. So this is a big travel game between the two teams, going from all the way out west all the way out east. So that always does make a difference when we look at how outcomes end up unfolding in the NFL. That's historically always happened that way. So keep that in mind. Washington has a great defense. They got some playmakers on offense. Terry McLaurin is amazing. Antonio Gibson's a great running back at this point. I love that defense. But the Chargers have to prove that on their side, too, with their defense. Now, they got James is back at safety. He's healthy again. But really, Justin Herbert has to come back and once again do what he did the last year. This is going to be a tough game, actually, both ways here. But I like the Chargers to win because I think they're more talented.
Yeah, this reminds me of that Baltimore-Las Vegas game where in that I think that the Chargers are going to have the better season of the two teams. Chargers are favored -1 in this game on the road. So I do think the Chargers kind of have an amazing year. Justin Herbert coming off that Rookie of the Year season. But I am going to pick Washington to win this game, basically because of that defense. And I think, Chargers got Justin Herbert under center, but I'm going to go 27-24. The WFT wins this game.
I agree. I think Washington football team wins this game based again on the defense. So there is a chance that Austin Eckler, he did not practice today. He is dealing with a hamstring injury, and it's possible. They're talking it's possible that he could be left out Sunday, as well as Washington, who has Curtis Samuel, basically that was inactive today with another knee injury, and he could be left out this Sunday. So that's possible, two offensive right there. So it's going to be based on the defense. And I think Washington football team has a better chance to carry their offense versus a team like the Chargers.
When it comes to the running game, you're going to have better luck with Gibson than you will with Eckler anyway.
Correct. So I think Washington has a stronger team and just as it is. So I think without Eckler especially, they're going to Chargers will struggle even with Allen on the outside. So I'll go Washington, guys.
All right, guys. Now stick around out there. You're following along for the TikToks. We're going to be breaking down the AFC West. Once again, like we've been doing every week for the AFC, so we have a lot of fun with that. JG's going to get his crunk on, and we're going to be talking about our record predictions for the Chiefs, again, Broncos, Raiders, and Chargers.
Hey,
so,
can we do a little tomahawk chop one more time?
Let's do it, guys. One more for the road.
It's for week 1.
JG, outro.
See you later.
See you guys.
Touchdown, Kansas City.
You gotta take a piss.
Hey, go Chiefs.
Dude, I'm not.
Hey, go Chiefs.
I don't even.